in this online learning, yeah, from a teacher's perspective who has high expectation still on the students, because actually this is also no, this is also their future.
That's
This
right.
is era. But sometimes I feel like I don't know whether this is justified. I feel like they're just hiding behind their name and their square black
Oh
there.
yeah.
And then well, they think that well, they can see the recording later, but I don't think they have time to do that. There are more important things for them in their perspectives rather than reviewing the recording of the virtual class.
I'm a full-time professor and then a student, so if they don't have time, that's a lie.
Well, that's from their perspective. They will say, I don't have time. I have more important things to do rather than just re-watching the recording. I have more important things like
I rewatch my lectures 3 times while I'm having a full time.
Share with them.
And then my lectures are like 100 minutes long, right?
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm gonna share all my experience as a student. Yeah.
Good, because I myself feel very disturbed. I mean, my own feeling feels very disturbed if I have to attend two simultaneous what is it?
Synchronous
events
sessions?
Like that, virtual events.
Yeah.
I feel disturbed and I don't want to do it. But maybe my students feel okay with that. It's multitasking, efficiency, and I don't know whether it's effective for them. Oh, okay. Maybe I need to stop talking.
All right. Reni, Ella, shall we start now? It's 8:30.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So, good morning, everybody. I hope
Good morning.
I hope all of you are doing well and excited. Before we start this Studium General, I would like to thank to the Dean of the Faculty of Education and Humanity, Dr. Randa Megawati MPD, the head of English Language Education Department, Lemuela Alvita Kurniawati M. our special guest, Kira Park, and the last is the lecturers. The last is the lecturers and my beloved friends, fellow students. My name is Reni. Welcome to the Studium General about thriving in online learning during COVID-19 pandemic. So let me read our agenda for today. The first is greeting. The second is opening prayer. The third is singing the national anthem Indonesia Raya, followed by Mars UKDW. Fourth is opening remarks from the head of the department. And then fifth, sharing session with Kira. And then mini talk show. After that, closing. And for now, for all of you, please turn on your camera and then turn off your microphone because Rama will lead the prayer. And after that, we are going to sing the national anthem Indonesia Raya and Mars UKDW. Rama, time is yours.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes. Very clearly.
Okay. So before we start our public lecture today, I would like to set the prayer, and I would lead this prayer in Christian. So I would like to ask the other religions to adapt. Let's pray. Dear Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Thank you for the opportunity and the good fresh air that we still can breathe, the food that we had for our breakfast that can give us such a great mood, and positive energy to join this public lecture. We pray that may the public lecture today will run well and the knowledge that we are about to gain can be beneficial to ourselves, to the community, and to the world. In the name of Jesus, we prayed. Amen.
All right. The next session is opening remarks from the head of the department. Ms. Pipit, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Reni, and thank you, Ella. So, hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Studium General, and I would like to welcome the keynote speaker, Dr. Kira Park. A very warm welcome to you, Kira. Thank you for your
Thank you.
willingness to participate as a keynote speaker in this Studium General. Well, Kira last night Indonesia time, has told me that it's not going to be a one-way session, but it's going to be more interactive, a two-way session, discussion, and also a workshop-like session, Okay, so, and good morning also faculty members and dear students. Well, students, we know that 2020 was a remarkably difficult year for all of us, students, and also teachers or faculty members, not only because of the pandemic, but also the other education-related issues as a result of the pandemic. And for students, you might have experienced, and well, perhaps until now, the workload of online classes, and then time management issues, internet connectivity, bandwidth issues, as well as health and well-being issues. Well, in response to this, we, English Language Education Department, are doing what we can do to support your well-being and the online learning process during this pandemic. And then one of our efforts is conducting this Studium General about how to thrive in an online learning. And through this Studium General, we do hope you will be able to thrive in a new learning environment, turn challenges into opportunities to level up in this new way of learning. And again, thank you, Kira, and also the other three speakers. We have Reni, Ella, and Ricky later, the next session after Kira's session. So enjoy the sessions with Kira and the other three presenters. And thank you. Go back to you, Reni and Ella. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pitt, for the opening remarks. The next session will be moderated by Ricky. Ricky, time is yours.
Thank you, Reni. Hello, everyone. My name is Ricky, and today I will help Ms. Keira to moderate her session. Before we listen to her speech, let us know a little bit about her. Kira Park is currently working as Assistant Professor of Instruction and Director of Online Certificate Program in Linguistic Department. She earned her BA in Business Administration from Chonnam National University, her MA in English Linguistics from Hankook University of Foreign Studies, and her PhD in Second Language Studies from Purdue University. She has variety of experience in developing online courses for teacher training and teaching English with a number of international partners and the State Department in US. Ms. Keira, the time is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's such an honor to be the keynote speaker for this session. And I want this session to be interactive, not just one way. So if you have any questions, Ricky will help me to, so I guess, because I can't see everybody right now. So if somebody raises their hands, Ricky will help me to recognize those questioners. And then Ricky, you will help me, right? So you can help me. Okay, somebody has a question and you will let me know, and then I can just answer the questions and we can continue the conversation. Okay, all right, so let me share the screen. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? My PowerPoint?
Yeah,
okay.
Yes, Kira.
So, so today's topic is thriving in online learning during COVID-19 pandemic. So as Rita said, it has been really difficult for students and both students and teachers. So today's talk will be in two parts, one from students' perspective and then one from teachers' perspective. So some of you may know, I think the faculty know that I'm a full-time student at the same time a full-time faculty member. So before pandemic, I only thought about, okay, I want to learn software engineering. Should I go back to school and then be a student again while I'm having a full-time job? I work until like midnight, 2 a.m. every day, and then can I handle it? And I said, okay, this is probably the chance for me to think about my life again. You know, it's just like ridiculously weird that the entire world is locked down, and then we are doing everything online and we can go outside. So I took it as a chance to rethink about my life. So let me share my experience as a student in the first part, and then let me share my experience as a teacher in the second part. Okay, so you guys can just raise your hand and ask me questions. If you have any comments, just jump in and then just speak out. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let me move you so that I can see my PowerPoint. Okay. So my first question for this part is, what do you really want as a student? So I think this time, as I mentioned, this is the time to think about what you really want in your life, because this is like unprecedented, right? I mean, everything is online worldwide, and who would ever thought about, you know, the world is going to be like this. So I think this is a time to think about what you really want in your life. So you have to set your goals. And then for me as a student, I thought that, okay, I need to take the most out of this lockdown. So that's why I decided to go back to school. So I'm a full-time student in software engineering. And then last semester I took 4 courses. And then this semester I'm taking another 4 courses as well. So during this lockdown, I was thinking, okay, should I just take online courses from wherever? You know, there are Udemy, Teachable, edX. There are multiple online websites where you can find, like, easily find online courses. And there are some like degrees that you can get. So I thought, okay, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be full in. So I'm gonna get a degree in software engineering. So that's why I found a university in Korea, which is a cyber university in Korea. And then I've decided to get a degree. So through that, you can do online studying abroad. For example, I'm in the United States, and then I'm getting this degree, which is from a Korean university. So there are a lot of cyber university in Korea. So on top of getting a degree in Indonesia, if you want to get another degree somewhere else, it has become easier. You know, so you can study abroad online, for example, in a university in Korea, and then you can also get an online degree in the United States. So let me briefly talk about cyber universities in Korea. So right now I'm getting a degree from Korea Cyber University, and it's an online branch of Korea University in Korea. And then the tuition is pretty cheap. So I'm paying about $700 for 12 credit hours. So it's not that expensive. So you can also think about studying abroad online if you really want to get a degree in something else that rather than what you're doing right now. Anybody have a question? Okay. All right. So I also, as a student, want you to take this opportunity to learn time management skills. So time management skills were mentioned previously in the beginning of this session, but this is the perfect time to sharpen up your time management skills. So let me share what I did with my friend. For myself, because I'm a full-time worker, at the same time, I have to become a full-time student. So I found a friend who was willing to form a checking on each other group. So let me briefly show you a table that I created. It's an example. It's not the actual table that I used, but it's an example. So what I did with my friend was that we shared the Google spreadsheet with our schedule. So you see on the top, you see the date, task, and the when completion, right? So in the column where the date is written, dates are written, you can write the dates. And then in the column where the task is written, you can write all the tasks for the day or for the week. And then you can schedule when you want to finish those tasks. And then completion column, you can say, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did that. So it's not just for you, it's also for your partner. So if you have somebody who's actually checking on your schedule, if you have that, you actually become way more efficient, and then your time management skills improve tremendously. So don't do this by yourself. If you can find a friend or friends, create a Google spreadsheet, put your schedule there, and then you can share your schedule with your friends or with your one friend or friends, and you can do this very efficiently, and then it really, really helps. This is something really simple, but it's very, very efficient. Okay. And then if you think about this online education, you can actually get individualized attention from your teachers way more. You know, you are in a classroom where there are like 30 students, and then if you want to get individualized attention in a classroom like that, actually it's a little difficult. But in online education, if you actually seek for it, you can actually get very much individualized attention from your teachers. For example, myself, in Korea, so I'm taking these courses in Korea, right? So the teachers have to respond to students' questions within 24 hours. So that's a school rule. So if I post a question, then the teacher has to respond to me within 24 hours. So if I actually ask a lot of questions, I'll get the answers within 24 hours. So these individualized attention can be given to you if you actually seek for it. So you have to take this opportunity as something that you can make the best out of it. Okay. I made a typo here, but it's maximizing your learning. So let me share my experience about reviewing lectures. So through online learning, you can maximize learning. So what I do is that in Korea, if a course is 3 credit hour course, the lecture has to be more than 75 minutes per week. So 1 credit hour has to be 25 minutes. So if I'm taking 4 courses, that means I have to watch 4 lectures that are more than 75 minutes each. So it's an hour and a half times 4 is 6 hours. So I have to watch at least 6 hours of lecture, like online lecture. It's just like I'm watching those lecture videos. So Megan asked me, how do you watch these long lectures? And then how do you keep your attention span while you're watching these videos? I actually watch them 3 times. So the first time I watch them when I'm doing something else. So I'll be cooking and I watch these lectures. I actually listen to these lectures. I am playing with my puppies. I listen to these lectures. So the first one is that I skim through those lectures. I don't take notes, I just listen to them. And then the second time I sit down and then watch those lectures one more time while I'm taking notes. I take intensive notes while I watch these videos. So if you take notes, you can focus on the content of the videos very much. And then the third time, I rewatch these videos with my notes before the exams. So I watch these videos 3 times. So when students say, oh, I don't have time to rewatch these videos more than twice, you're lying, because I'm a full-time faculty member. I work full-time. Sometimes I work until midnight, but I still do have time to watch these lectures 3 times. So you have to maximize your learning by reviewing your lectures. And then this is the time you can do that, because if you just have face-to-face lectures, you can't ask your teachers to re-give the lectures, right? So you have the videos, you can watch those videos and maximize your learning by reviewing those videos in multiple ways. Okay. All right. So let me remind myself with the time. Any questions so far? Any comments? No? Okay. I'll move on to the second part. Okay, so from teachers' perspective, how to help students thrive both academically and socially from online learning. I expect a little more discussion in this part because I have brought case studies based on my experience as a teacher, and then things that I observed from my colleagues. So I want you guys to look at the cases and then think about whether these cases are best practices or worst practices. And then if they are worst practices, then how we can improve them. Okay, so I want active participation from the faculty member, because this is about how to teach well online. So what are the best practices and worst practices for online learning and teaching that I've witnessed in the past 12 months? Let's see. Case number 1. Students are required to post their responses on a discussion board by 5 p.m. on Fridays and reply to 2 of their classmates by 6 p.m. What do you think? Is this one of the best or one of the worst?
Best practice,
Best practice? Why? Why do you think so?
because the students are asked to more actively discuss and give response to their classmates.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? So a lot of people gave me a thumbs up. So this is one of the best practices. This is actually one of the worst practices because this is actually from my husband. So he was taking a course last semester, and then he was complaining about his professor, and I asked him like why, and then he gave me this scenario. So his professor asked his students to post something by 5 p.m. on Fridays, and then ask them to reply to 2 of their classmates by 6 p.m. So if you're teaching online, you can't do this. You have to give at least 24 hours for your students to read their classmates' responses and then think internally, process what they want to respond to their classmates' responses. So you have to think about how much time you can give to your students. So you can't just ask your students to have 1 hour window and then reply to their classmates' responses. So when you teach online, you have to think about this. So if you're gonna give a deadline of 5 p.m. for your students to post something on a discussion board, you have to give it at least 24 hours for them to reply to their classmates, okay? Case number 2, since students have more time than when having face-to-face classes, you should give more assignments to your students to learn. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down? Can anybody tell me why it's a thumbs down? Why? Tell me why.
Because we have a lot of classes, and if we got a lot of assignment, it will be very overwhelmed for the students. Please.
Everybody agree?
Yes, agree.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why. That's right. So when you teach online, particularly when you move your offline class to online, you have to think about how many assignments you're going to give, how much workload you're going to give to your students. So giving more assignments when you teach online is a no-no. You really have to think about how your students can manage their time, and then how they can actually complete all the assignments on time too. So for myself, all my deadlines are soft deadlines. I call them soft deadlines, not hard deadlines. So whenever my students need an extension, I give them. As long as they're not asking me, okay, can I have a month of extension? So if they are asking me, okay, can I have 1 more week? Of course, you can take it, because I do grade my students' assignments, but they are labor-based. So as long as they put a lot of effort into it, and then as long as they try really hard, their best to finish their assignments, I give them an A. Because each student learns things differently. Each student learns things in a different pace. So if they contact me in advance, and then if they discuss things with me in advance, I always give them an extension, and then I try to be like as flexible as possible with my students. Okay. All right. Case number 3. Every assignment in your class is a group assignment, since students need as much interaction as possible. So they're not meeting in class, so there is not much interaction, face-to-face interaction. So you think, okay, I'll give them assignments, but everything will be a group assignment. What do you think? Thumbs down? Anybody want to share their experience about this? Thumbs up. Okay, so this is actually from my colleagues' class, and coincidentally, the students who were taking my colleagues' class were taking my class as well. So they happened to complain about the group project that my colleague gave to my students as well. So my students said that it's really, really difficult to do group projects online, because some people are not in Ohio, some people are not in the States. So when they have to do a group project, it's just really hard to meet. And then some people have internet connection issue, and some people's internet is fine. So if you are going to give assignments, maybe a couple can be group assignments, but I think individual assignments is a little better. But at the same time, you would have to give more attention to your students. But I know it's really hard when you have like 60, 70 students in one class. So you would have to think about how you want to manage the interaction between you and your students as well. So you have to think about how much group work that you're going to give to your students, and then how much individual work you're going to give to your students. It's actually good to talk to your students in the beginning of the class, so you can open it up to your students. For example, what I do is that I actually contacted my students before the semester began. It's not about group assignments, but it was about textbook. So I'm teaching MA students in my department, and I contacted them and I asked them if they wanted to use a textbook in my class. And then every single one of them said that they don't want to use a textbook. It's just really hard for them to buy a textbook because everything is online. So I told them, okay, so we're not going to use a textbook, but I am going to create a course book and then scan the pages that I want to use in my class. So it's really good to talk to your students before the semester begins, before the class begins, because some teachers, they're afraid of asking questions to their students because they feel that they're the authoritative figure in the classroom. But students play a big role in your classroom too. So if it's possible, talk to your students and then interact with them and then figure out what they want. Okay. All right, case number 4. Students can't modify their responses once they post or submit because they should be more responsible and careful in the first place. So they should not make a mistake. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down? Yes, it's a thumbs down. This actually happened in my husband's class as well. So the professor wouldn't let the students to change or modify their responses or their submission at all, because the professor thought that the students have to be more responsible in the first place, and then the students have to be more careful in the first place. So I think this is really, really bad, because everybody makes a mistake. And then if you don't give a leeway to your students, particularly when you're teaching online, I think it's not very good. And then the advantage of teaching online and then learning online is that there are a lot of things that you can change and modify easily. So why don't you take advantage of that, right? All right, case number 5. You make a video of explaining the week's assignments and requirements, and also provide the same content in writing. So you have a video, and then you have something in writing. They're the same content. Students are mandated to watch the video. Is this a thumbs up or is this a thumbs down? Thumbs up? I see some thumbs up. And I see some thumbs down. Okay, so this is actually a thumbs down because because oops, go back, because you can have 2 modes, okay? A video and then something in writing, same content. But you should not mandate your students to watch the video, because some students don't have good internet connectivity, so they can't watch the video, and then they only can read what you're presenting. So if you mandate for them to watch the video, then if there's an issue, then the students can't get the point, right? So if you take a point off, if the students don't watch the video, that's the disadvantage for those students. So if the content is the same, the video and the writing, some students want to just read it, right? Some students just don't want to watch the video. So I think it's not a good way of communicating with your students. Okay, case number 6. So I think because not a lot of people are talking, so I think we should have a Q&A session at the end. So I'll finish my presentation. I'll try to finish my presentation by 10:30, and I think we can have 15-minute Q&A session. Is that okay? Okay. All right. Okay. So case number 6. You use 2 different LMSs, learning management system, one for sharing materials with your students and another for submitting assignments. So you're using 2 LMSs for your students. Is that a thumbs up or is that a thumbs down? It's a very thumbs down. Seriously, I mean, why would you use 2 LMSs? But this actually happened. So the students got really confused, which LMSs they have to go, and minimizing the number of tools is the best when you're teaching online. I mean, a lot of times people think about using technology in their classroom, and then they want to bring in all sorts of technological tools in your classroom because, you have access to them. That's not a good idea. So when you're teaching online, maybe a couple of technical tools that you want to use in your classroom, that's the best. And then stick to one learning management system where students can go and find everything. And the best way of using a learning management system is to set up everything in the beginning before the semester begins, so that when the semester begins, the students can go and then navigate everything at one go, and then they know what's going to happen in the semester. So set everything up in the beginning of the semester so that your students will be able to see everything, and then they will be able to navigate everything for the semester. Okay, case number 7. When having a synchronous class, you ask your students any questions. So you talk, you give a lecture, and then you ask, oh, any questions? And move on after waiting for 2 seconds. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down. Thumbs down. Why? Why is a thumbs down?
I think 2 seconds is too fast. Maybe some students have delayed connection, so they, okay, it's late for the students, and then you have already moved on and they want to ask. So yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Particularly just now, it took Ella to turn her microphone on for 2 seconds. So if you only wait for 2 seconds, you wouldn't be able to let your students to ask questions. So this actually happened in a classroom. So maybe about 10 seconds at least, you ask any questions and wait at least for 10 seconds. And then if they don't have any questions, you can move on. And then I think it's good to allow students to type their questions as well, because it's faster too. So you can let your students to speak up and ask their questions, or you can also let your students to type their questions in the chat room as well. Okay. Case number 8. You change due dates in the middle of the semester without discussing them with your students in advance because the new due dates fit your schedule better. Thumbs up or thumbs down? This is really, 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 really bad. But this happens a lot because life happens and then the professor needs new due dates. But if you're gonna give new due dates, you have to talk to your students in advance and then explain to them, because your students are humans too. And then they have things going on in their lives, and then you have things going on in your lives too. So discuss them with your students, be open-minded, and then be open to your students, and then trust your students. I think you really have to trust your students when you're teaching online, and then give them hold them accountable. If you hold them accountable, they will hold you accountable as well. So that's my approach of teaching online. So you have to create a good rapport with your students in the beginning of the semester, and then show your trust to your students. I mean, a lot of teachers think that, okay, well, they're not gonna do anything. I mean, and we're teaching online, and then they're busy, and then even if I give them assignments, and then they might not be able to finish them because they're busy. I think that mindset is not very good, because if you don't trust your students, they're not going to trust you either. So this is two-way interaction. So you have to trust your students, and then so that your students will be able to trust you as well. Okay. All right. Case number 9. Besides your class time, you schedule a session or two for your students to freely chat every other week. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up? Yes, it's a thumbs up. So this is actually what I do. Because my students can't see each other face to face, and then they can't socialize, right? So what I do is that I schedule a session or two for my students to freely chat every other week. So in my school, we use Teams. So we can, if you use Teams, that the chat rooms stay forever, so that they don't disappear. So students can go, so I can open up a chat room, and then my students can go, and then they can just talk to each other freely besides the class time. So I sometimes jump in and I can have a conversation with them too, and then they can talk to each other. They discuss group discussions, they discuss group projects, and then they talk about their lives. So it's really, really good. And then they share their puppy pictures, they share their cat pictures. So I think creating a place where your students can go and then freely chat, I think this is very important, because sometimes you expect your students to just do it by themselves, but you have to lead the way for your students to socialize sometimes. Because, for example, my first year students, they haven't met each other face to face because they started their program during this pandemic. So this is their second semester, they haven't even seen each other. So if you're expecting your students to become friends because they are young, they're tech savvy, they can just talk to each other and they become friends. No, they wouldn't become friends if you don't actually kind of give them the stage to become friends. So that's what I did. And then they're doing really, really well in my class and in other classes as well, because they have become friends. They build that rapport with each other. Okay. So case number 10, I think my presentation is gonna be ending a little earlier, but I think we can have longer Q&A session. Case number 10, you create a group chat where students can freely ask you questions within a limited time frame on weekdays. Thumbs up or thumbs down? What do you think? Professors, what do you think? So the phrase within a limited time frame on weekdays is very, very, very important. So if you open a chat room where students can ask you questions whenever they want, that's really, really bad. Because think about it, you have 30 students in your classroom, for example, and if they freely ask you questions whenever, that means you don't have a life. You'd have to answer questions on weekends. You'd have to ask questions at like 10 p.m. because they might have a conversation in that chat room as well. Then your phone will be ding, 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 ding every single day, every single second. So you can give your students a time limit. So from like 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., you guys can ask me questions on weekdays. Then you can jump in the chat room and then answer the questions within a limited time frame. So this is really, really, really important. And then you are creating this window of opportunity for your students to ask questions. And I've done this in my class and it worked really, really, really well. And then because if I'm on campus, they can stop by my office and ask questions whenever, or they can schedule a face-to-face meeting if I'm in my office, but it's all gone. So I am creating this opportunity window for them to be able to jump in and then ask me questions. And then it has been really, really helpful and useful. Okay, last case. In every class, you have a 5-minute quiz to review what was covered in the last class. Good or bad? Okay, yes. So this is what I'm doing in my class and it has worked really, really, really well. So my students do a lot of readings for my class, and then this is a good way to check whether they did the readings as well. And they did readings and then they review the previous classes content, and I don't give them like 20 questions. I give them like 5 to 6 questions, and then once I give them about like 5 minutes so that they will be able to solve all the questions, and then I review them together, and then it becomes really interactive. They chime in and then they answer my questions and then I answer their questions, and it becomes really, really, really interactive. So it has been working really, really well. So this is the end of my presentation, and then I want to open the floor to the Q&A session. And then if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions. Me being a student or me being a teacher, anything is okay.
Do you think we teachers have to go so that the students can ask questions more freely?
Can you ask your question one more time, please, Mega? I couldn't hear you very well.
Ma'am, masih di
Sorry,
yeah.
I didn't ask question. I suggested or I shared my thinking by asking, should we, all the teachers, leave so that the students can ask questions more freely?
Oh. Or you can type your questions in the chat room. I can answer. Francisca says, you must have had debated your husband a lot. Yes. Any questions?
Well, Kira, can I?
Yes.
Okay. You said that it's not good, or it's better to work individually for students in this online course. And sometimes to give them couple group works, right? So depend on or based on your friend's experience, when he or she gave them a lot group works, what he or she could do to help the students in fulfilling or achieving the goals of the group works.
So from my observation, I think she could have met with the groups. So she didn't have to meet because she has given all the group works. So I think she could have met with the groups individually more often. So if you are giving group work, and then when the students are struggling with those group works, you can't just like, sit back and then let them just figure things out, right? So you can schedule at least like bi-weekly group meetings with the students, so that you'll be able to help them. You'll be able to guide them to figure out how the group project would run better, I think. So that's what I normally do when my students struggle when they do group projects, and then they need some kind of moderator. Because they're all students and sometimes they just can't figure out what's wrong by themselves. So meeting with them at least like bi-weekly, I think it's very, very recommended.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I want to ask some question. So, Kira, okay. So, what do you think about when a lecturer cannot provide or create a good atmosphere in a class so that the students wouldn't feel secure in a class? What do you think as a student?
As a student, it's depending on the culture, I think. For example, if I were a student in the United States, I would contact the professor and then say everything like straightforwardly. But I know that because I'm from an Asian culture too, I know that it's really difficult for a student to go talk to a professor saying, the environment is hostile for students, so can you do a better job? It's just really difficult, right? So I think it has to be a group effort. For example, you can talk to, if that's the case for you, then you can talk to other students, and then as a group, you talk to the teacher instead of you just as an individual talk to the teacher. So if you create a group and then talk to the teacher very politely, saying that this is how we feel, and then we really respect you as a teacher, and then we really want to improve this like learning environment. Could you help us? So you have to, instead of telling your teacher that, okay, this is how we feel and that this is how to fix it, you have to be respectful and then tell the teacher to be able to fix the situation from the teacher's side. So you are giving the ball over to his court or her court to lead the way to fix the problem, instead of you telling the teacher that this is a problem, we need to fix it. So I think that's the best way of approaching it.
Thank you, Kayla.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Can I ask?
Nika? Yes.
Yes. Can you hear my voice clearly? Okay. So I would like to ask. Previous a week ago, I had a like a sort of teaching practice in one of high school, and then there we have like Ricky, one of my friend Nona, and also me. And me and Ricky, we have like a different personality that maybe Ricky tends to be like more quiet, and then also like, you know, like have a very strong urge like a boy, and I'm like not really friendly as I maybe like I wouldn't say like I'm really friendly, but at least like we're like having like a different personality. And then one of the comment from the teacher said that personality in the teacher is matter the most. I mean, like we have to be like quite friendly and other things about that, and then we have to try our best to communicate with the student as because you also said about like having a discussion with the student and then also have a good rapport with the student and other things. And I think it's also a challenge for us as a teacher that that we may be not like as friendly as the other friend or as not as cheerful as the other friend. And what do you think about that? What do you think about personality in involving in teaching and also learning?
So I think personally, my personality helps to be, hopefully I'm a good teacher. So I think my personality really helps to build rapport with my students. And because a lot of times in the course evaluation, my students tell me that Dr. Park is very personable. She's very approachable. She's really kind to her students, and then she builds a great rapport with her students. So my personality really helps to create really good relationship with my students, but I think it can be compensated. So if you don't have very outgoing and then very talkative personality, and then you are rather a little quieter, and I think you can show your passion and then your love to your students in a different way. For example, you can give more feedback to your students. You can, if it's a little talking to your students in a friendly way is a little difficult for you, then you can give more feedback. You can write your students a nice email instead. You can give them a little like, you know, tiny little heart when you are, you know, giving like written feedback at the end of students' assignment, something like that. That really, I think helps students to feel that, okay, my teacher really cares about me. So I think there are multiple different ways so that you can actually show how much you care for your students. I think that's the way to approach it. Did that answer your question?
Of course, it's really helpful. Thank you, Kira.
You're welcome.
There is a question from Ms. Mera, one of our lecturer. Coming to the second year of pandemic, how do you think the students are now doing with full distance learning?
Coming to the second year of pandemic, what was the second part? Can you say that again, please?
How do you think the students are now doing with full distance learning?
Let's see. I think some of them hate it and some of them like it. Yeah, because I mean, some students, I mean, for myself, as a full-time student, I love it because I don't really, it's very efficient if you think about it. I mean, you don't really have to waste time going to classes, and then what you need to do is learning something, then you just go watch the videos and then you learn something and then you get out of it right away and then you move on, right? But people who like to interact with each other, people who like to, you know, like to be engaged in like face-to-face conversations, and for them it stops. So I think, and then some people feel like, okay, I'm not learning as much, you know, online. So I think it's fully depending on their situation, and some people love it and some people don't love it. And yeah, but I think we have to embrace the situation because I think there will be more online, you know, there will be more online education in the future because people have experienced this forcefully for a year. And then a lot of people have realized that, okay, this actually works. We don't really have to be in a physical, you know, location for a lot of things, even like companies as well. So I think we have to embrace it because it's going to happen. And then there's a saying that if you have to do it, just be happy about it, right? So I think it's the mindset that you have to have.
There is more from Memera. How about the teacher from the same context?
The teacher's perspective. I love it. My husband hates it. My husband hates it. My husband wants to meet his students face to face because his class is very discussion oriented, group discussion oriented, and it's just really hard for him to, because even when you use breakout rooms, it's just really hard to see your students all at the same time. You have to jump from one breakout room to another, and while you are in one breakout room, you can't interact with other students, right? So he hates it. For me, if you run it well, I think it works well. But probably because my class is much smaller than my husband's. My husband has 20 students in his class, and I mostly have 6 to 10 students in my class because I'm teaching an MA. I mostly teach MA courses. So for teachers who have a bigger class size, I think it's not good. But for teachers who have a smaller class size, it works. That's how I feel.
There is a question from Reni. Miss, sometimes we are afraid to ask questions to our lecturers. Can you give us some tips how to overcome it?
Okay, so before I answer this question, I want to ask a question to Reni. Why are you afraid to ask a question?
Oh, I think it also, my friends also experience the same way. I don't know, they just feel afraid, maybe because of we don't feel close enough to our lectures. That's why we are afraid. And the second, because sometimes we have to deliver it in English, sometimes we're afraid that the meaning is not the same.
Okay, so is that possible for you to ask your lecturers in the beginning of the semester whether it is okay to ask questions in class? And very politely. So you can, instead of just like not, so you have to set up the environment to be friendly to the lecturers and then to the students as well. So in the beginning of the semester, very politely ask your lecturers whether it is okay to ask questions in the middle of a class. Then if the lecturer says, okay, yeah, it's totally fine, then you feel more comfortable because the lecturer gave you permission to ask questions, right? So I think setting that rule in the beginning of the class is really, really important. So I know that a lot of students, they feel as just like you, Reni, some students are afraid of asking questions. Well, I think let's ask one of the faculty members. Okay, so Mega, what do you think of students asking questions in your class? Is that okay?
I invited it. I encouraged them, but yeah, maybe they are afraid of me because I don't know. Very many people think that I am very terrifying or I'm a killer, but they don't know my heart yet. Actually, I love my students very much. And I always say, ask questions. You read the materials before class, ready to share or ask questions.
So what I do with my engineering students, so I used to teach engineering technical writing. So my engineering students are very, very different from my humanities students. They don't talk in class. Even if I ask them to ask questions, they don't talk. So what I did is that I asked them to post all the questions before class in a discussion board. Because when they write, it's so much easier for them to ask questions. So before class, so let's say if the class is on Tuesday, I ask them to post questions by Monday, like 10 p.m. And then they all post questions. And then Tuesday morning, I go through the questions and pick out some of the questions. And then I answer those questions in class. so that my students would feel free to ask questions. They don't have to be afraid of asking questions. They don't have to be afraid of being embarrassed in class by asking questions. I think it's a good way to have them to feel free to ask questions about the content of the class. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, Kira.
Any questions from others?
Can I?
Yeah.
This is actually my confusion of which to outweigh, how to which to prioritize. Very often, I already, from my perspective, I already write instructions in, let's say, G-Sites. Now I'm learning how to use G-Sites, Google Sites, and I have well clarified the instruction, what the expectation is in our virtual meeting, synchronous meeting. And then when it is about an assignment, I give the instruction one more time in the worksheet of the assignment that they have to do. Plus, you know, all the technical things like deadlines and whatever. But then my students, of course, not all of them, but there are always a few students make mistakes. They just don't do exactly like what is instructed or expected. And on one way, as an educator, I really want to make them learn that, hey, you have to pay attention, you have to be correct with what you do, because later when you work, everything matters.
I hear you.
Things
yes,
matters,
I hear you.
Right? But on the other hand, sometimes I try to think positively about the students, but very difficult when it happens over and over again. You understand what I mean?
Yeah,
so what do you think about that?
So for your assignments, do you let your students resubmit their assignments if they make mistakes?
I will tell you that in our university, there is a LMS that we create ourselves, and we have, I usually ask them to submit everything there to make it clear, even though I use Google Sites, let's say, yeah. And then I set in the e-class, our LMS is named e-class. In the e-class, I make the setting in which they can resubmit before the deadline. So the last thing they submit will be kept by the system. But of course, the deadline is firm.
Yeah. So what I do is that once they submit by the deadline, and then I go through all their assignments, and then if I see a major mistake that they make, I individually tell them to resubmit it. So instead of just like, okay, expecting my students to be able to fix their mistakes before the deadline by themselves, sometimes they can't. Yeah, so sometimes it can be just an oversight, or sometimes the student is not capable of finding the mistakes by themselves. So I go through their assignments, and then if something major is going to affect their grade because they made a lot of mistakes, they didn't follow the instructions, the guidelines that I've set, then I actually go back to those students and then tell them to resubmit. So I'm giving them another chance so that they will be able to pay more attention and they will be able to fix it. So that becomes a learning. And then the next assignment comes, they pay more attention to it because I gave them another chance to fix it by themselves. So based on my experience, that helped. Yeah. So that's why I call my deadlines soft deadlines. That's why I call my deadlines soft deadlines. Yeah, as long as they learn, I don't really care about like deadlines very much.
Do you think it is fair for the students, the other students who really do well in you know, deadlines in their own work?
So I think it's depending on whether the grades are whether the things are graded on a curve or not. So is everything graded on a curve in Indonesia, or you can give, for example, if there are 30 students, only 30% will get an A and 30% will get a B. If you want to give all 30 students an A, you can give them, or how does it work, right? Okay, so in the States too. So if I want to give all 30 students an A, then I can give an A. So in the beginning of semester, I tell them that, well, this is labor-based. All my teaching is labor-based, whether I teach a language or whether I teach writing, whether I teach content. So I want to see you putting an effort into your learning. So I tell them that, okay, there are deadlines, but I'm gonna read your assignments, and then if there's a major mistake, and then if you're not following my instructions, I'm gonna give you one more chance. So my students all know that there is another chance. But good students, of course, they will submit everything before the deadline. And then some students make mistakes. So I do understand whether I do understand your question about being fair or not being fair, but I think giving them another chance is being fair to me personally, because they're not there to be graded, they're there to learn. So my perspective of teaching is from that. So they're there to learn, not because they want to get a good grade, but they're there to learn. So if you look at your students from that perspective, then I think that it's more understandable, like giving them a little bit of a leeway in terms of submitting assignments and then giving them another chance. Yeah.
Okay. I have already given a second chance actually, but it really hurts then if you find out that the people you have given the second chance keep doing mistakes, even though they are very creative, yeah, not the same mistakes, but other mistakes, you know. But I get the point, and I learned from this. Thank you, Kira.
Well, in that case, you have to hold them accountable. It's their responsibility. It's not only the teacher's responsibility to teach them, and it's also their responsibility to learn things in your classroom. So if that's the case, you have to hold them accountable, and then they get a lower grade in that case. Any other questions?
I want to ask some more question. Okay, so do you think that is it okay to cross-check the instructions that we have from the teacher again? I mean, like some teacher maybe feel like we didn't read the instructions very well. So when we ask again, it's kind of something that the teacher didn't like.
So it wasn't clear to the students, so you wanted to cross-check whether you understood it correctly, and then the teacher didn't like. So how did you frame it? How did you say that? Did you make it sound like, okay, I didn't understand it, I want to make sure that I understand it correctly. Did you say in such a way?
Yes.
Or
yeah.
Okay, to me, I don't understand why the instructor didn't like it, because I would appreciate it, because the student, if the student is cross-checking, that means that the student actually wants to do a good job, and then they're cross-checking, right? It's not like, okay, please explain from A to Z one more time, even though it's all in syllabus. It's not like that. You're just like cross-checking, right? In that case, I don't have an answer, sorry, because I feel like it's a legitimate question that students can actually ask to make sure that everything is understood, right? I'm sorry, I don't have an answer to that. Okay, so we have some questions in the chat room. Okay. To ask, sometimes when students experience difficulty in doing work, they want to be given advice or just simply talk to the lecturer. Should students to be the one who approach the lecturer, or the lecturer who should approach students and ask how is the process of the work? It has to be both ways. It has to be both ways. So I think students, of course, have to initiate and then approach the lecturer, and then ask for advice if they're struggling. And then the teachers, of course, they have to check the students' comprehension and then their learning progress in the process. So it has to come from both ways. But if the lecturer is not initiating that, the students, of course, have to initiate. Ask for advice, ask for answers to certain questions. I think that has to happen. Okay, what about approaching each other like works when two parties are trying? This question, okay. How we face friends in group projects that don't want to cooperate together or work together? Oh, this is a problem. This happens a lot. One time, okay, so my colleague was going to teach. So I taught this group of students in the fall semester, and then that same group of students were going to be taught by my friend in the next semester. And then my friend asked me, okay, who should I not put in the same group with? Tell me. And then I told my friend everything. Okay, you should not put student A with B because they don't like each other. And then you can put student C and D together because they're okay with each other. But if you don't know, then it's hard, right? But I think that the teacher has to be the moderator at the same time. But I think it's a reality, when you get a job, you can't handpick people that you want to work with, and you might hate your boss, you might hate your colleagues, and then this is a reality. So I think you have to tell your students that this is the reality, and then you have to find a way to work way out of it. Okay, if it's a group work, if you don't want to work together, then you can separate the work. So if it's a writing assignment, okay, I'll write like page 1 and 2, you write page 3 and 4, and then we will combine together and then just cooperate it. Or if the group projects have to work together, so you have to find a way to work together. You can't just abandon the group and then let one person do all the work. This is what these skills are the skills that you'd have to learn to survive in this hostile world. So you can't just work with the people that you only like, right? Okay, question from Ruth. How to equip all students learning differences in online learning? Learning differences. So can the question be a little more specific? So like different learning strategies or individual differences? Which one?
I was referring to the learning strategies of the students. Students have various learning strategies. So how do we as teachers equip those varieties?
Okay, got it. So what I do is that I present some learning strategies in the beginning that can actually help most of my students. So there are role models that my students can actually follow, which are presented by me. And then they can actually try those learning strategies by themselves, and then they can modify if they want as well. And well, each student has different learning strategies, but I think as a teacher, it's good to set some models in the beginning so that they can actually start from the same starting point. And then of course, each student is different. But as a teacher, I don't think we'll be able to accommodate all the differences, particularly when you're teaching online. But for me personally, setting up some models in the beginning, that really helps. Okay.
Yeah,
I want to ask a question. You're welcome. Is it okay to make mistake in doing assignment even we have the low grade if we did not do well? Does our grade reveal our understanding about the topic and material? What do you think about it? Because sometimes we actually understand the material, but in doing final test assignment is not really running well. I suggest creating a study group. Sometimes you think that you understood the content very well, but sometimes it's not true. You think you understood the content very well, but if you're not doing well in the test, it might not be true. So I highly recommend you form a study group and then teach each other. So my teaching philosophy is to teach my students until they can actually teach each other. So if you want to become a good student, you should be able to be a good teacher in that content too. So form a study group and then teach each other, and then you will do well in tests and assignments, I believe. Okay, another question. What will be the effect, do you think, of teaching online when everyone turns their camera? This is a big problem. This is a big problem, yeah. Yeah, because well, my students, as I said, we built very good rapport from the beginning of the semester. So all of my students, they never turn off their camera, and I think it would be nice if everybody turn on their camera, but at the same time, you have to think about this. Some students, for example, my husband's class, some of them have 5 siblings. So if they turn on their camera, then their classmates and their teacher will see like kids running around in the background. And then some students, they don't have their own room, so they have to either go to the bathroom or closet to take lectures. So that's why they turn off their camera. So I think as a teacher, we really have to be understandable. And a lot of times, students, they turn off their camera. I mean, sometimes students turn off their camera to do something else. But often, some students, they just can't turn on their camera because of their circumstances. So we have to understand that. And I think setting up some rules in the beginning of semester is very, very important. You tell them that, okay, I expect you to turn on your camera because I really want to build a good relationship with you. I want to, since we can't see each other face to face, I want to build this rapport, and then I want to interact with you. So as I emphasize, you have to trust your students, and then you have to build a good rapport so that they will be able to be closer to you. So I think, so I bring in my husband a lot in like this session, but my husband has 20 students, and all of them, they turn on their cameras because my husband set up these rules in the beginning of the semester that, okay, I expect you to turn on the camera because I want to interact with you. I want to have a good rapport with you. So I think that's really important, setting things up in the beginning of the semester. Okay. if we turn on the camera, sometimes the internet connection becomes unstable. That's true too. That's true too. So some students some students are in the rural area. Their internet connectivity is really, really bad. So they can't turn on their camera because the internet connection would just like go out the window. So that's the case too, right? Okay. So it's almost 11 already.
I have a question, ma'am. How do you have tips to build a good rapport with the students, especially after experience teaching practice recently? In my case, the number of the students is very huge, because the system is like teaching one batch of the students. It's around 100, and expecting them to open the camera is very hard thing to do, especially
I think
even
so,
after begging them like like that, they still not responding. How do you build a good rapport in this kind of situation?
Okay, so let me ask you a question before I answer your question. Do you need your students to turn on camera?
I think it will feel better talking with someone that have
I know.
or show their face.
So what are you teaching? What's the subject?
It's grammar. I feel conditional sentence. Yeah.
Okay. So do you use breakout rooms when you teach?
No, I think no. We use Google Meet. Yes.
Okay. So I think if you can, I think using Zoom is good, which you can use breakout rooms. And if you give them assignments, group assignments, which they can do during your classroom session, and then if you jump from one breakout room to another, that means that you can interact with your students in a smaller group. So I think that really helps for you to build a rapport individually. But when you have more than 100 students, it's just really, really difficult. And then for me personally, unfortunately, I think it's something that you would have to give up in a sense when you're teaching a large size online class, because my husband used to be a professor in a Korean university, in a cyber Korean university. And then each class, he taught more than 300 students at the same time. So it's just like really hard to build a rapport. But what he did was that he sometimes had phone interviews and phone class sessions for individual students or group of students who are willing to learn more than what they could get from the lecture. So I think creating I know it's hard as a teacher to spend one's personal time for teaching, because you have so much work, and then you still have to spend your personal time to build a rapport with your students. But if you're willing, I think meeting your students within a smaller group, at least like 10 students in a group. So if there are 100 students, then if you divide them into like 10 different groups, then it's like 10 groups, right? So if you meet them, let's say this group A and B this week individually, like group by group, and then next week meet group 3 and 4 separately, I think that's one way of building rapport, because it's more controllable. And then the students within a smaller group would be more willing to turn on their camera when you're talking to you. I mean, if I were a student in a class with 100 other students, I don't think I would want to turn on my camera. Yeah, so I think it's just the nature of a large online class, and then that's something that we would have to give in. Okay.
Okay. Any question from others? Unfortunately, our question and answer session is already finished. The good news is our question already answered. It's good. Thank you, Miss Kara, for your thoughtful session. I think it will help us greatly.
Thank
I
you
will
so
give
much for
the
having
time
me.
back to Elnora.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Keira, for the amazing and beneficial session. What quite a session, right? Can we get an applause for Miss Keira by clicking the clap emoticon, please? Right. Okay. So, Miss Kira, if you have any activities or other thing to do, you may leave the room. But if you want to
I
stay
have
with
to go to
us, we'll be
sleep.
grateful. Yes.
It's
Because of the
11
time
p.m.
zone.
here, so I have to go to sleep.
Yeah. Okay, Miss Kira, thank you so
Sorry.
much.
Ella, can we have a photo session with Kira before Kira leave this
Goes to
room?
sleep.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Everyone can open their camera, so Miss Kira can have a documentation of you guys. Please open your camera and we can have a picture together.
Ella or Supri, can you help to screen capture?
Yes.
Or Noel? But let's wait for a while, yeah?
Jim.
Okay. There's a 3 pages.
Amazing.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more.
I'm gonna do this too. Everybody's doing this.
1, 2, 3. Okay, finish.
Okay, thank you, Supri. And I will send the screen capture to you later, Kira.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
Kira.
Thank you. Have a good night's sleep, Kira. Goodbye. Thank you, Kira.
Bye.
Okay, so before we continue to the next session, an important announcement for all the students to fill the attendance form that is provided in the chat box. It is a Google form. And this Studium General is live streamed on YouTube. So those who miss some parts on this Studium General can watch the whole parts in PBUKD YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe too, guys. So, okay, now we will proceed to the next session. So I will give it back to Ricky, please. Ricky?
Okay. For the next session, we will have 3 speakers, our local product from Duta Wacana. And the first speaker, I will introduce our speakers first. First is Reni, currently on the 6th semester. The second is Elnora, also from the 6th semester. And lastly, Ricky, myself, on the 8th semester. We will directly enter the session.
Okay,
So
so this is talk show session. So this is an interactive session. We can ask the question, or students can ask us freely. Yeah, if you guys have any question, you can type it in the chat box or raise your hand. Okay. Okay.
so yeah. So Rennie, how is your study since the pandemic happened? What are the challenges?
Okay. At the beginning of the pandemic, it was difficult for me to adapt, because I never done an online learning in my life. And I also feel like lack of motivation, yeah, because the schedule is changed, and then my time management was really, really messy. And like there's a lot of distraction, like data, internet connections, and so on, yeah. And I think all of my friends also experience the same thing, because we are in the same puzzle. Or you can type it if you agree with me on the chat box, everyone. And I also get bored easily at the first time, yeah. I think it's because of the duration of the class was very long. And yeah, I think it's the challenges that I have felt. But now, after entering the new semester, I think I can use to online learning, and I like it too. But still, I prefer face-to-face class. How about you, Elnora?
Yeah, thank you, Rennie. So, in my opinion, yeah, when the pandemic started, obviously our study is very changed drastically. At first, when online learning was announced, I was very excited, to be honest, because we don't have to go to the campus, wake up in the morning and take a bath like that, and then we can just relax, and as soon as we wake up we can straightly join the class without even taking a bath. I was enjoying those times, but until one day I got very fed up and with the routines, and somewhat I feel I didn't really gain any knowledge because of the routines. But as time goes by, I become adjusted with online learning, and now actually I feel comfortable and get used to it. For the challenges, for the challenges during the online learning, I think it's very various. Firstly, what I feel is, okay, but I can conclude there is two main big challenges. Firstly, challenge outside ourselves, which is like technical problems like internet connection or gadgets and so on. And also the data, okay, data. Um, and then the second is challenges that revolve around ourselves, of course. This is actually the hardest challenge in my opinion. I really like, if you guys know me, I really like to procrastinate. Yeah, that's my bad habit. And once I procrastinate, which is very bad, especially in this online learning, in the end, I will end up the task will be delayed, and I will end up really tired on doing all the tasks that's uh, given, right? And then I feel really, really tired and exhausted, but I cannot change this habit because it's really addicting for me. Okay, but I think another challenges in online learning is time management that is connected to procrastinate, which is also related, yeah, and also distraction. For me, when I get bored when we do the online class, sometimes I get really bored, and because I turn off my video, I can open my gadget and open social media, which is very, very bad. Sorry, okay, lecturers, I'm sorry. And then that makes me unfocused in learning. So I think those are the challenges, and I think I want to hear, how about Kak Ricky? What are the challenges and how your study since the pandemic happened?
Yeah, I can say confidently that it's terrible. It's very terrible. My the first COVID or this pandemic strike is on my 6th semester, and because of that, my score, which normally is, well, it's quite good, I can say, but after that, it's really decreasing. I can say that usually I got 3 point something like that, and after the COVID on the 6th semester, it's 2.8 or 9. I forgot. Yeah, it's affect me greatly in negative way. The challenge, of course, laziness. I think laziness is the threat that I live with for a very long time. That's one of the threat that really accompany me around my life. And this pandemic is taking it on another level, because the time we don't have prepare anything, and we just can attend the class online. We just we just need to laying around the bed, and then open the group WA, click the announcement or the link, and voila, we are already on the class. It's make my time management skill, which is originally already terrible, become much more terrible than before, because I'm used to someone make a schedule for me. In the campus, we have schedule. We follow around it. Our life oriented around it. But in this online learning, there is no clear schedule. We have to make it ourselves, or independent study, or as we got so much freedom and conveniently, which make our life become more inconvenient. Yeah, so I think the biggest temptation, the biggest enemy in this pandemic era is my laziness, which already problem even before the pandemic.
So agree. I think that's what students are facing right now. Okay, so
there is a question, I think,
Mhm.
from Jessica Girsang.
Okay.
Have you ever experienced stress doing assignment and online learning? If you have, how can you deal with this? Of course, I think everyone here have some stress doing online learning. Well, if in my case, I'm just complaining myself, and by the end of the day, I will doing it because, well, it's my score. I want to graduate from here with some good score, and I think I need to do it. So yeah, although maybe I will procrastinate it until the deadline, I'm still doing it, stressfully or not. That's the life of college student, I think.
Right. Okay. So there's another question for Miss Silly. What will help you to overcome your laziness? How about you, Rennie?
Overcome my laziness. I think I have to remember to my goals and keep discipline, yeah, because we cannot always be motivated, but we can try to be disciplined. I think we have to remember to our goals, like Kariki said. I want to have a good score and then graduate from UKDW as soon as possible.
Yeah. For me, I think to overcome laziness, we can ask our friends to have a discussion or a work team, like study together. That will help us to learn or do tasks more in a fun way and forget our stress or laziness. I think that's a good way because I have done that, and then it's really affected me, and I really enjoyed that. For those who like to do the team project, but those who introverted, I think you can just like do uh, list down your tasks, and then I think that's a good way to go away from your laziness. Okay, so we will proceed to the next questions. Yeah. So guys, do you feel the difference between offline learning and online learning? What is your opinion, Kak Riki?
Yeah, it's very different. In offline learning, I feel that there is built up atmosphere that you're gonna study. This is very serious thing because we before we came to the come to the campus, we prepare ourselves. We dress properly. We take a bath. There is a build up, and then we come to class, attend the class. We meet lecturer, uh, like Vizquera said before. There is interaction, although I'm a little bit quiet person in the class. I'm still interact with other people, and I need it. Yeah, that's different compared with online class. I just need to wake up, checking WhatsApp group. Uh, I don't have to take a bath. I don't have to wash my face. I just can check the group, enter the class with my messy hair. My face still messy, and I already considered as attending the class. Just compare between two. There's no build up. You just laying on the bed, practically, and no atmosphere of you're studying. It just feels like it's holiday, but you listen to radio host or something like that, which uh, make your lecture, which sometimes already feel boring, become more boring, and that's, I think, that's very terrible for someone like me. Also, there's no pressure on the online class. I personally think. Uh, in offline class, we met lecture. It gives some pressure to us, just because meeting with face to face and just online. I think it's very different, and this pressure keep pressuring me to I have tasks I need to learn, or something. That kind of atmosphere, I think, really helped me to conduct myself. While in online, the pressure become lesser, and it feels it it really didn't make me want to learn. I become lazier. That's one of the problem and the difference, I think. How about Rennie?
Of course, there's a lot of the differences, like what you had said before. Yeah, the first is studied through online. Okay, we don't need to put makeup on our face and dress properly. And if we do on offline learning, we have to dress properly. But I like what things that I like from online learning is we can learn everywhere. We can learn at cafe, at school, and in the car, everywhere, right? If we are doing an offline learning, we have to focus on we have to come to the class. Yeah, just seems like that. And then I think that's all. Yeah, for me. But now we are an adults. I think we have to use to the changes and keep improving. And how about you, Ella?
Okay, so in my opinion, obviously offline learning and online learning are really different, right? When we do offline learning, we could communicate more engagingly. The interaction between teacher and students is more active and alive, right? We could do more practical learning, especially us as a English language education department. We should have like teaching like in our sixth semester, right? But because of the online learning, we couldn't do the offline teaching, right? And in online learning, we are somehow limited. It is very easy to make excuses for not joining the class or not paying attention because of the example, like internet connection is unstable or delayed connection. And in online learning, we can easily hide our face too by turning off the camera, right, and not answering the teacher, and it makes the learning ineffective. But I agree with Reni that there is a good side in online learning, like we can study in everywhere and anytime. And I think that's a good benefit. Okay, so guys, I think there's a lot of question for our excited friends here. They are very relatable to this topic, right?
Yeah, because we are in the same vessel.
Right. We should answer some questions. Let's choose some. Wait. Okay. From Kak Eben, I want to ask how to overcome students' perspective or habits on doing assignments some hours before deadline. Wow. That's very, very relatable. And I really actually enjoying that because I have said that earlier. I'm a procrastinator, which is very bad. But do you agree with me that when we do our assignment like before hours, the deadline, the inspiration and knowledge is coming, and it's like very, very inspirational in our head, right? But I think it depends to students, yeah. Like you can check yourself. Do you feel like you can do that? Like
For me,
does it affect your achievement result of task? I think when we are doing the task before the deadline, I think it really, really affected like performance. Like maybe we forgot to add something because of the rush, right? And it affected the score. But I don't know, for me I think that's very good for me. How about Reni and Kak Riki?
for me, I don't agree with Ella. I don't like to do my tasks 5 hours before the deadline because usually I feel like tremor and I can keep focus to find the answer. And I just feel like sometimes I do homework with my friends. Guys, it's a tips for you. If you cannot understand the task, you can ask your friends to have a teleconference by Zoom meeting or WhatsApp video call and then share your opinion. After that, you can learn from each other. For me, it works, yeah. But I cannot do a task 5 hour before the deadline because I cannot focus to find the answer. I just oh my god, oh my god, just like that. And also, there's a lot of disadvantage of doing the homework 5 hours before the deadlines. Maybe some of you agree with Ella, but I don't. I'm not type of people like to challenge myself or put myself in a trouble because I'm afraid I have a bad luck. The internet is not really good. So I like to play safe. So
Yeah.
I'll do it like one day before the deadline. Just
Yes.
it.
In our batch, we call the system like the deadline. It's a Roro Jonggrang system. So yeah, we call it that. How about Kariki?
Yeah, I'm like my claim before. I'm one of the laziest on my batch. Right now, I'm procrastinator too, and I like to do my assignment some few hours around the deadline. And I don't know why. This is just my experience. I don't know how the metaphysics or the things work. Every time I do my assignment from far before the deadline, the last result, the score, always lower than when I work when around the deadline, the deadline time. I don't know why, how it's work, how the metaphysics, something like that work, but it's always like that. Maybe the adrenaline, I don't know. I just think that before the deadline, around the deadline time, my brain really worked very well, just like that. So maybe pressure. Yeah, I like pressure. That's for sure, because I know without pressure I will be lazy, and that kind of pressure, the time, know how bad it will be. Stimulus my can stimulate my brain. Yeah, so I like the stress feeling. I can say at least.
Okay, so the students and the lecturers in chat box are going wild, guys. They are liking this discussion.
Okay, I think I'm going to read a question from Melissa first. Yeah. Melissa said that how do you guys deal with the pressure at home so you don't interfere with your study activities during a pandemic? Because Elora now in her house, right?
Yes, I'm in Batam, and I am an Batak and ethnicity. You guys know, which is very loud, right? Especially my mother is wow. So actually, before I do the online class or like this, I firstly told my mom that I have class. So she won't bother me, and I also lock my door so there's no one came in my room and then distract me. So I think that's my tips. How about Kariki?
What is the question again? Sorry.
How do you guys deal with the pressure at home so you don't interfere with
okay.
your study activities during a pandemic?
The pressure home. Well, I feel very grateful to some of my friends, classmates. There is Eben here. Sometimes there is Dida. When I feel bored or pressure at home, sometimes my friends Eben here always invite me to work together somewhere, not just home. So I'm not rotten laying in the bed and become even lazier than before. And sometimes Dida call me because she also really when she feel confused or just need someone to chat with, we just chatting on or calling. So the learning process, the something like that, become less boring than before. Yeah, that's it. Try to rely on your friends because we need connection in this kind of situation, I think.
Yes, agree.
And in my opinion, if you feel that your parents are really annoying and it can affect your study, I think you can talk to your parents like, Ma, you cannot, please don't disturb me at this time because I have a class and so on. Because I know when we're at home, sometimes our parents ask us to, can you swipe the floor and then wash the dishes and so on. But you have to tell your parents that I have my class at this time, so I can do the housework at that time. Yeah, just communicate with your parents. I think that's it. Any questions? Oh my God, we got a lot of questions from our
Right.
beloved
They
affiliate.
are going wild, guys.
Okay, Alnora, do you want to read it?
Okay, wait. We have a long questions from. Wow. Okay. Diana asks, okay, if next semester we are still in online learning and we have to do teaching practice, meaning we will teach in certain class in their middle teaching learning process or mid-semester, how would we manage our teaching or making sure that the students understand but we keep on the class schedule? It's challenging when we teach online and the students seems don't really understand with the lesson materials, but we have the RPS or syllabus. Okay, there's a lot of words there. I need to process first. How about Kariki? What is your opinion about this question, Kak?
Yeah, as someone that recently finished the teaching practice on the school, it's really confusing how the high schooler work with their time. Well, even I still confused how my time works. And how to manage it? This is just one of my experience. There is we always need synchronous meeting for them, because in like in Miss Mega complain about the instruction experience about the how sometimes students don't listen to instruction or something like that. If we just read or write or plan or something like, they will not read it. They will not read it. Maybe some of them will read it, but for most of the students, they will not read it. They will just skim it and then see, there is task, this is the task, and do it without any proper reading completely. And that's the point of synchronous. Maybe it just some minutes, you just give instruction, but I think that kind of meeting will be very helpful for the students, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
So we have other questions. I think the lecturer is also very excited in asking us question, guys. So Miss Haley asked us about how can lecturers contribute to overcome laziness of students. Oh, interesting. I think the lecturers, some lecturers, I really love PBA lecturers because PBA lecturers are really motivate us, like they are really engage us to do our best and do our what we can do. And then I think that makes me feel motivated and forget my laziness. Yeah, so we love you, PBA lecturers. And Rennie, do you want to answer, or we can proceed to Miss Pipit's question?
Oh, yeah, I can answer. How can lectures contribute to overcome laziness of students? I think it's good, yeah, for the lectures, especially it's for me, yeah, to give schedule or progress on a class, so we will not procrastinate like you.
Thank you.
So instead of doing the whole task in 1 month, it's better to give us like what is it, progress 1, progress 2, and it also really helped me as a student. Okay, we are not going to do a roro jongrang, and we can do it properly. We can
Right.
do our tasks properly.
Can I answer? Can I
Sure,
answer?
sure.
Okay. This is just from my experience. Like I said before, my 6th semester is very terrible, and one of the subject there is research proposal. That's not writing, and very uh, very intense experience, I think. At the time, my advisor is Memega. I'm very grateful for Memega, because it's the time when my laziness on the peak of my since the college since I entered university, and Memega always text and calling me about how your progress. I feel uh, uh, I feel someone saya dikejar, seperti itu bisa dibilang. That kind of feeling, or that kind of pressure kept me on working my research proposal, and yeah, I got quite good score, I think. I'm very grateful for that, Memega, for that. Also, just recently I go to campus to work on my thesis. We always my friends and I always go to in front of PB, because meeting Miss Ada and my advisor Bendang always give me a pressure that if I don't make progress, I will mess up. I will feel terrible for them. I'm asking for their time, and they spend my time for me, and I don't produce anything. that kind of pressure helped me overcome some of my laziness, I think.
Okay. Wow, Suhanas ya Kak Riki. Okay, next from Miss Pipit, based on your self-reflection, what have you learned and gained from this online learning? Actually, this is in our discussion, so I think it will be answered in our next discussion, right, guys? Okay,
Yes.
so Reni, please.
Oh yeah. Right. I just want to answer Miss Pipit questions. Yeah. Things. Wait, I have to read the questions. Based on your self-reflection, what have you learned and gained from this online learning? I think it's a lot. Yeah. I become more responsible for myself in every aspect. Yeah. And I know this online learning is not easy, but for me, it's like a blessing in disguise because I can arrange my time management properly, and also I can join a lot of seminar virtually, and also I can join a lot of an organization, even though we cannot meet each other, but we still can sharpen our ability in collaboration and communication with our friends. That's all that I gained from that, and also I got a lot of experience. I get a new experiences teaching during online learning in Pengabdian SMA Immanuel. If you guys didn't know about that, you can contact Pak Andre to gain a new experience in teaching during online. Yeah, I think that's all.
Especially for the 19 students, 2020 students, right? You guys can experience how is teaching high school students. Okay. So Reni, can we proceed to the next questions?
Oh yes.
In our discussion.
Wait. All right. I think. Okay. What makes you motivated to keep learning during this pandemic? Elnora and Kariki, or whoever you want to answer it.
Okay. I think Kariki first.
Okay. Let's see. Motivation first. Parents. I'm quite old. I'm aware of that, and I think I need to graduate properly. I don't want to spend my parent money uh, for extra. Uh, for extra. So I don't want to waste my time on university and spend my my parents' money. I want to make my want to make money for myself. You can say that I'm become quite aware that I have some responsibility as a child of my parents. Also, my friends, they really want to make, hey, let's graduate together, and that's become a pressure for me too, because yeah, I want to graduate with them for together. Another motivation is, of course, my advisor on thesis right now. I'm still studying. I'm still working on it. They, every time I see the WA status, it's always feel full with meetings, rapat, and it feels like they have so many meetings, and taking their time makes me feel bad. So I don't want to waste that kind of feeling. All of the pressure really motivate me. It pushed me into still learning, even in this kind of situation that I don't really like. Yeah.
Okay, so for me, what keeps me motivated is I will always remember the reason why I start all of this. When we become English language education department students, I think there must be a reason why we choose to be to be elite students, right? when I feel exhausted or unmotivated, I will start remember why I start this all. And then and I also have one principle of life that I always hold, that finish what have you started. And I think if I think about it, I regain my strength because I know why I start all of this. And another motivation is same like Karigi. I will remember those who have provided and supported me to become an students, right? And I will remember my parents, especially, who have worked very hard to pay my tuition and my needs as anak rantau, right? Who have a lot of needs. And as soon as I remember that, I will be surely reminded of my responsibility, and that what keeps me motivated. And how about Rennie?
Actually, I have a certain goals that I have to reach, and I also have a motivation that I want to develop my abilities both in academic and non-academic fields, and I'm still trying to develop that. I want to take a lot of opportunities in front of me, okay, because opportunity doesn't come twice, so I don't want to miss it. All right, everyone, I think it's only Ricky, Ella, and me that talking about this. Can I have some answer from all of you? Any volunteer? Or do you want me to choose? Any volunteer, guys? Do you want to share what makes you motivated to keep learning during this pandemic?
Right. So you guys might motivate us, right, from your story. Anyone?
Anyone? All right, I think we
Maybe
have.
me.
Oh, Siaga. Yes, please, Siaga.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. What makes you motivated to keep learning during this pandemic, Siaga? Share all of your opinion.
Okay. I remember Ella's answers about this, and you said that you remember why you started this journey, right, Ella?
Yes.
That's good, but I think for me, I don't try to remember why I started this, but I try to imagine what is the end of this journey. So
good.
What, like when I graduated, I will have a certain apa tuh namanya jabatan ya, pangkat SPD, and with that kind of, I feel like that's not a burden, but responsibility to have that. And then when you try to imagine the end of it, and you have this responsibility and reflect on yourself, my skill is still in this level. It really drive me to do more in learning, for example. So I think that's it. Yes.
All right, thank you, Siaga. We are going to hear from one person, maybe from the ELET 20 and 19. Luciana, are you there? Lucy?
Yes, Kak. Yes, Kak.
Yeah. Do you want me to read the question one more time?
Yes, please.
What makes you motivated to keep learning during this pandemic?
Actually, I just think that learning in this department is my responsible. So when I decided to start it, I have to finish it. I just take that mindset in my head. So whatever I started, I have to finish it. That's why that is the reason why I stay in this department. I struggling, and I try to find the best version of me in this department. I think just it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Okay, maybe it's the last from ELET 20 and 20, because we are going to hear from ELET 2020. Anyone volunteer, or have I choose? One. I will count 1 until 3. 1, 2, Three. All right. I think I'm going to choose Christina. Are you there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What keeps me motivated? It's actually nothing.
It's really nothing. Wow.
Why nothing, Christina?
Because I just want to. I don't know what keeps me motivated. I'm not motivated at all. I'm just doing the task. I'm just doing usual. Yeah.
Okay, I guess because Christina is just joined with us in English Language Education Department, maybe she haven't get the pressure, guys. So I think you will soon experience and you will get the motivation. I think, Christina. I think you will learn a lot from this Stadium General. Okay, Reni, I think I can conclude this meeting. Okay. Okay, guys, so I think that's it for the second session. We had a very great talk show with Reni and Ricky. Okay, so online learning might be hard, but online learning taught us so many lessons and makes us become more independent and responsible learners. So I hope you guys can learn a lot from this Stadium General and apply the good things in online learning because we don't know when we can do the offline learning. So we should be more patient and keep trying, keep fighting until we can meet each other. Okay. Okay, so reminder, don't forget to fill your attendance, students, and the form can be found in the chat box. Reni can up it again.
Right.
Okay, so we arrived at the end of this Stadium General discussing thriving in online learning during COVID-19 pandemic. We would like to thank again the Dean of the Faculty, Head of English Language Education Department, special guest speakers, lecturers, and students who have joined this public lecture from the beginning to the end. We also want to thank all of the committee who have made this Stadium General successfully. And to close the public lecture, we will end this by a prayer led by Rama. Rama, the time is yours.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's pray. Thank you, God, for your blessing today so that we have finished our public lecture. We pray that may all the discussion and the knowledge that we have gained can give us such a new insight to dealing with this kind of online learning situation. Only in the name of Jesus we prayed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for joining us in Stadium General, and we hope to see you next time, maybe in another Stadium General. Thank you guys, and bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Ella.
Great job, Ricky, Ella, Reni.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, lecturers.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. I will end the meeting. Thank you.